Welcome. I am here talking to Joe Gillis from Beyond Geek, super awesome. And he has worked with the California Mermaid Convention for a couple years now. Actually, how long has our project been going? Our mermaid episode of Beyond Geek?
Way too long. Actually, I filmed some stuff last year, but really it was the year before I filmed a lot.
It was, yeah,
for the California Mermaid Convention.
2018, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really just filming B-roll and seeing sort of what my options were. Was it going to be something where it was going to be a shorter thing for the web? Was it going to be a full episode? What was it going to be? And now it's just grown into this massive behemoth of mermaidom that it's going to be epic at this point. But that's because, you know, as I dived into it all, it just became bigger than I even thought it was. And I thought it was already pretty, you know, going to be a big story.
Yeah. I like your little dive in.
I don't mean it like that. I say that stuff all the time. I'm not trying to be one of those corny newscasters, you know.
Mermaids we're all about the puns though, so as you know.
That's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
You well know. By this point.
Yeah, you're my Finstructor. I know these things, you know.
So a little bit of background of Beyond Geek. It is a series, right?
Yes, it is. It's a television series that runs on PBS. It's basically a show that takes a look at passionate people and the things they do. And so each episode, typically what we do is we go and follow a person from beginning to end on what they do. And we throw the host into it. And they actually get to go out and do that with whoever it is. And so we've had episodes about people who dress up like superheroes and go out and fight crime and do good in their community. We've had people who try to float to space in balloons. And of course, we're working on mermaids. And that one's turning out to be our biggest endeavor ever. Depending on what happens with this whole pandemic thing, this one's looking to be the length of a full season. So it's pretty crazy, but it's amazing what you guys do. And that's why it's become so big.
I mean, that's so exciting in itself, right? Since about 2012, when this modern mermaid movement sort of started to take off, you know, and here and there, there'd be a special about the mermaid community and the mermaid profession. I know TLC had a little, you know, episode. There were episodes here and there. But to actually have a full season that unwraps and unpacks all of these different aspects of professional and recreational, right? Modern mermaids, you have the costuming, you have the history, you have the folktales, you have the environmental aspect, you have the free diving, you have the technique, right? So that it just, I'm sure once you got into it, you were like, oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. Oh, wait, there's more.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And what's scary is no matter how big this is, it's still not going to cover everything. That's what's amazing.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Unwrap all those little layers of seaweed as you, again, dive deeper into mermaid thing.
And I still probably won't be anywhere near as good as everybody else out there, but, you know, it's been fun either way.
So you've had some pretty unique experiences in making this show.
Yes.
You were really... You wanted to embrace everything fully. I felt like you approached this without any hesitation. There are certain things in the mermaid community that people tend to sort of raise an eyebrow at, especially coming at this as a male, as a merman. So from your experience, you know, how was that a little different for you? Did you get any pushback going into this from family or friends who didn't really get it? Did you change any minds once they saw some of the cool footage of you or any of the photos?
Well, I think that's what it's going to do, is change a lot of minds, because that was why it was so important for me to actually have a male do it. It was, I have a female host who would do so much better than I would do, with no doubt in my mind that she would blow me out of the water in terms of how good she is. But for me, I like turning things around and going the opposite way everybody would think. So when we did a pro wrestling episode, we actually took Brittany and she was the pro wrestler. which is not what you would typically think, right? It's like,
Right.
oh, it's primarily males, right? But for me, that was an important aspect because I want it to be something where whatever the status quo is doesn't have to be what it is. And I think that's what's great about the mermaid community in general, is that you guys accept anyone and everyone. And so for me, it was great because I still think there is a little bit of stereotyping going on like the fact that this is only females can enjoy this, you know, and that sucks because as a male, you want to be able to enjoy whatever you want to be able to enjoy and not get made fun of, right? I mean, it would be nice. It's okay, I guess, to get made fun of a little bit, but it sort of sucks. You know, I've been to, you know, like it's been great in my lifetime because I've gotten to see the things I enjoy going from getting made fun of to a bunch of people who would make fun of you back when you were a kid, going out and doing it and enjoying it and realizing, oh, that's why they were doing it. It's because it's actually fun. And that's where I think this is going to be great on that end, because I shouldn't be like the judge of how good or bad a male mermaid can be, you know, a merman, or, you know, some people don't even like using those terms, merfolk. You know, just because I'm not like as good as Merman Jax doesn't mean that any guy can go out there and do it. I don't know. It was one of those things where I started doing it and it was really funny because you actually taught me how to swim as a mermaid.
Right.
And I'm sitting here doing it and I think I'm understanding it. And then I go back and watch the footage and I'm like, oh my gosh, I am like not that awesome. You know, in my head, I totally thought I was doing it right. And then I look at the footage and I go, oh, that's what she meant, you know? But it's like, it's fun. What you guys do is fun. It's hard, but it's fun. And I think that's great that hopefully I can open up some doors for other people and for it to be okay for guys and gals to do it. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
Just as long as you have fun.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that is so nice about the best parts of the mermaid community is it is very open to everyone, right? To come and enjoy this sport or profession. And you were speaking a little bit about, you know, oh, I'm not as great as Merman Jax, but there's...
In a lot of ways, by the way.
I mean, wouldn't we all like to be?
Yes. I'd like to have his body too, but you know, whatever, it's all good.
But I feel like that's something that, especially at the convention, that is an environment we want to foster of being inclusive. Yes, you can swim with us. You know, are you a beginner? Great, we have classes for beginners. Or even if you don't feel like you'd like to take a class, if you just like to interact with the community, be recreational, you know, there are opportunities for growth. There are opportunities just to come and have fun and be sparkly and pretty. Even if you're a mermaid who can't swim or doesn't really like to swim, you still get to participate and have fun, right? Because we want it to be accessible and inclusive. That's one of our biggest things since the beginning of doing it. So.
No, and that was one of the things I think I talked to you a bunch about is I just love the fact that you guys pretty much that's the wrong word. You guys are just open up your arms to everybody. You know, it's like, it's hard because I'll tell you what, you get half naked and you get a little self-conscious and stuff. And I'm not built like the other mermen, you know, I've seen those guys and those guys, you know, they got the bodies. You're like, oh yeah, that's why you are willing to take off your shirt, right? I'm not built like that, but you know what's great is I didn't feel like anyone was judgy about how I was. When I was walking around, I didn't feel like anyone even thought anything about that. And that was awesome because, you know, we're all different shapes and sizes.
Yeah. And we have been really, really fortunate to partner with the Society of Fat Mermaids, which is a shop and an organization run by mermaid Shay Monique. And she's actually doing a panel this year for the digital event, which is really cool. I'm so excited. So that again, the body positivity and the acceptance. I think that because, you know, mermaids are undressed, you know, in so many ways. In some ways we're more covered up than we would be in a bathing suit, right? Because our belly
your
button,
whole bottom part is...
Yeah, to our feet is covered up. But so there is a lot of this sort of like oh, I don't know, I'm uncomfortable, you know, or you can find tops that you are comfortable in. You know, our vendors, we have a lot of different vendors who can provide more modest tops, or, you know, just learning to sort of sit with yourself and accept and be encouraged in an environment like that is really, really special. And it's made me really, really happy to see how the community of the con has kept that spirit going and not been, you know, cliquey, or, you know, only the professional mermaids hang out together. They don't hang out with the rec mers, or vice versa, right? All these little factions, you know, that could have broken off, that I've seen happen, unfortunately, at some other mermaid events. It hasn't, and I'm really, really grateful for that. And I think that's because coming into it, we all know the environment we're trying to create and foster, right? So that's exciting.
Well, no, that's good because, you know, I deal with a show that's all about geeks, you know, so it's, there's a lot of things that I think it becomes hard because of your self-conscious, you know, you're worried about what people think. So, but it's like, think about it. If you could remove that element out of the equation for people, how much more fun we could have with things. I mean, it's like, it was the whole still doing cosplay thing, you know, you had to get past that point of, are people looking at me? Are they judging me? You just got to get rid of that stuff. And I think that's the hardest thing even about mermaiding, is you just got to go, you know what? I need to do this for myself. I need to enjoy it myself. And I need to not think about all that other stuff. And a lot of times, I don't know if people are, but even if there are, who cares? You know, go out and just have fun.
Yeah. As far as your process, your journey in sort of getting your fins wet in the mermaid world, what are the three most challenging things for you? And that could be in relation to costuming, or trying to work with the environment, the actual swim itself, breath holding. What do you feel like were the three most challenging things that you had to work on?
For me, it was overcoming a lot of problems I had mentally from my past. So when I was a kid, I nearly drowned at one point. And so that became a hurdle I had to overcome. And then another thing I did that I didn't do with you is I learned how to scuba dive for another section of the show. And I'll be honest, Jaws sort of jacked me up on that side of things. And
we would be like feeling the effects of Jaws for generations. So frustrating. Sharks are cool, guys. They're cool animals.
Yeah, but you know, it's getting past those fears. That was the hard thing for me, is I had to overcome some of those problems. And you know, even when I was scuba diving, I still even had at one point I swallowed some seawater under, you know, some ocean water underneath the water, and basically, you know, threw up a little under. And it was like, it was scary. It started going back to that thing, and it took me a second to get back into that space.
Yeah.
On the other end, I would say learning how to do it was harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be hard, but it was actually really hard for me. Just when you think you're getting it, it just seems like it goes away really quickly. You know, I'd be like, "Woo, that was awesome!" And then the next one, I'd be like, "Whoop!" You know, it's like, what the heck? You know?
Well, there's so many factors too, right? In learning to swim, you have to learn to control your buoyancy, you know, how much air you're holding in, if you have to weight yourself, in addition to the actual physical movement. And then it is really difficult to nail the movement, I think, without actually being able to see yourself, see a recording, or see, you know, somehow what your swim looks like, because you think you're correcting these body things, but until you see it, it's right, then the realization might not be coming. Which is why when I'm training new hires at Dive Bar, we work in the tank for the first few sessions, and then I switch off from being in the tank with them and being on the floor and actually filming them and giving feedback so that they can review those videos and go, oh, this is what she was talking about when she said that my face looked like that, right? And so
sadly, that's me a lot. It was challenging because the first thing you tell me is I gotta like expel all my breath when I go underwater, and I'm like, what? Really?
Right, because your brain's like, no, I will die, and you won't, actually.
You know my brain very well. Because that was exactly what I thought.
And I feel really lucky that at Dive Bar we were trained by Mermaid Linden from Mermaids in Motion, who's an amazing free diver and works with children for water safety and swims, and actually is a really cool environmentalist as well. So I feel really fortunate that I had this little like leg up, and Lyndon talked to us so much about how your brain just tricks you, right? It tells you all this stuff, but it's not the reality of being underwater. And she also, which I think about all the time, told us that mermaids should look like they belong in their environment in every conceivable way, which means relaxed face, not blowing bubbles underwater unless it's purposeful, but also looking at underwater life and seeing how it moves. And everything is really like slow and drifty and really, there's not a lot of like hurried fast stuff going on. And that's, all of the performance techniques that I have, that Dive Bar has, that you have, are passed down sort of from her genealogy, right, of these amazing techniques and observations. So thank you for letting me share that with you.
No, I'm extremely happy because, for me, me, I was like, I wanted to be Speedy Mermaid. I'm like, try to get from one end to the other as fast as possible. I'm like, oh yeah, this is, I'm trying to win a gold medal or something so I can breathe again. And you're like, no, slow it down, Joe. Come on, you're going way too fast.
So you got to perform at the Northern California Pirate Festival. That experience was pretty different because you got to interact with the public, right? Kids and families at this event. What was like a memorable takeaway from that experience? Getting to actually work a huge event like that.
Well, it was interesting because I developed my Mersona, and I'm a warrior, which, thank you, you made me look phenomenal. Mermaid and Mom just created the best armor for me, and I looked amazing. And I'm all trying to be the warrior merman Joe, right? And I'll tell you what, I don't think there's a stitch of footage where I don't have a big smile on my face because it was amazing interacting with these kids. They were feeding you, and I'll tell you what, I probably ate grass off the ground or whatever, just because it made them like, they thought, whoa, here's a merman, right?
Yeah.
And it sucks you in, and I'm like, screw it, I'm eating the grass, And it was an amazing experience. It was really cool. You couldn't have a frown during it. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. That's the best event we do all year. It's really great. Next year.
I know.
If not only coronavirus, but AB5 gets just...
Yeah, double whammy in California this year.
Yeah, real bad.
Yeah.
So as far as the plan for Beyond Geek, this mermaid series of Beyond Geek, very exciting. What is the trajectory for this, provided, again, that it is safe to go out, hopefully in the near future, and start working on this project again?
That's the big hope, is that we can go out. That's the only thing holding it from being finished. So basically I had 2 weeks worth of shooting set up to finish off the vast majority of it. There's still something I'm filming with you for the end of the show. But
exciting.
hopefully we'll be able to get back out and do this. It's just we gotta, of course, wait to know that it's okay. It's one of those hard things where it's like, I want to go out and do it and just be done with it and hope it all works out okay. But it's a twofold problem. One is I have my own condition that could be bad for this. I have an autoimmune disorder that could go terrible on this. But more importantly, I'm more worried about the people that we're dealing with. And the show is very much about doing it, going out there and being a part of the whatever we're covering. So if I need that aspect to be able to be there, not be something where there's certain things I could film that could be more like traditional documentary interview style stuff if I needed to. But there's still some stuff that needs that interactivity, and I need to be able to violate some spaces, and until that happens, that's where that's the only thing like slowing us down at this point. We're hoping for, next summer. Boy, it would be really nice to have it no matter what, before the end of next year. But it really comes down to some variables that right now, who knows where it's going to go, because things I think are going to get a little worse as we open up, but that should be expected. I mean, we're all hiding away in our houses for, 3 months. It's going to get worse when you open it back up, So hopefully we get a control of it, and then I can just go out and we can finish this thing. We're ready to go whenever that can happen.
Do you have a rough idea of about how many episodes the series is going to be, and sort of what the breakdown is for those episodes? If one's focusing on the environment, one is, tales, costuming.
Actually, it is sort of like that. We have one that is focusing on the environment. We have, some of the stuff spans from history, both from like the aspect of mermaids themselves to performing as mermaids. And then we have, of course, me learning how to do it, because that's a big part of the show is, what makes us different is we don't just talk about it. We go out and do it with whoever it is. And so that becomes a big part of it. So I went out and you trained me how to do this. Then we did things like went over like how to develop your mersona and things like costuming, makeup. Heck, a chunk of an episode is just going to be about photography, which as you dive into it, you start to realize that's actually a big part of the community. Because without that, you don't really see a lot of the aspects of things.
Yeah, and that's so huge too, right? Because modeling and tail is so different than modeling with legs and being able to do all these different things as far as mobility and poses, and you need an assistant, and and then as soon as you get underwater, everything changes again, right? Like the lights, the bubbles, that's a huge aspect. And so many mermaids, it's their main focus is the picture, right? So we can post it on social media and do all those things. So,
well, I was glad to have done it. You went out there with me, and it was, of course, 50 degrees. It was storm coming in, awesomeness. And it's really funny because you're like, I'm just going to coach you most of the day and wear my coat. You go ahead and be half naked, Joe. But I was glad I did it because there were certain things I didn't think about. Like you said, it poses a whole bunch of challenges. My legs hurt more from doing the photos than from swimming.
Yeah.
Oh man, you got to stretch beforehand.
Yeah.
My toes are actually hurting right now. Honestly, if I probably would have stretched, that might have made a difference. Swimming, you go and you stretch before you hop in the pool.
Yeah, and you warm up,
Yeah, and you warm up. Man, the keeping your toes pointed on land and some of the uncomfortableness you have to get to. Basically, you taught me one thing. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. Overarching rule of mermaiding.
Yeah, and that's something I discovered by going out there with you and the great mermaid wrangler photographing us.
How you feeling now?
I feel awesome now.
Yeah.
Just here hanging out on the beach,
That's it.
enjoying myself.
So even though you're cash,
Yeah.
you don't get to relax.
Of course not. I mean, why would I?
Why would you?
Man, it is painful doing even the land stuff. In
Yeah.
fact, I felt it was more painful.
I agree that it is more painful because, you know, you get so tired swimming, doing a long party or a long event swimming, but you're a mermaid, so your body is designed to be in the aquatic environment, right? There's no pressure on certain parts of your tail and you're moving your body and it does make you very tired. But the land stuff, in my contracts, I have a clause that I can't be in tail for longer than 2 hours without a half-hour break in between, because it strains your legs, it strains your back. It's really rough. And you see people go, oh, you really got an easy job. You're just sitting there looking pretty. I'm like, no, I'm not. But thank you for not noticing how hard this is.
Yes, it is extremely hard. So anyone out there who hasn't done it, it looks easy, but it's super uncomfortable and painful. And you showed me also, it's part of it is how you're going to look if you slouch and stuff. I'm a sloucher naturally. I'm just like, I want to sit here and go like, yeah, oh, that feels good. Like that's what I would prefer to do, but you can't when you're mermaiding.
Nope. To support. I'm just always yelling at my team.
Yeah. I felt like I needed a book on my head just to make sure I was doing it right.
Square up the shoulders a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And have the arm this way. Yep. Cool. Yeah.
You know how I know he now has it? It's because it was more uncomfortable.
That's right.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about the show? Do we want to tease the last segment, or is that just going to be a big surprise?
I'd prefer to hold that off. It's been sort of teased. When you watch it, you'll realize we talked about the elements of where it goes because it has to deal with sharks. But, you know, and that was so that was another thing that was coming up as I was doing the episode. You start to learn certain aspects of things. You start to think about things differently. I've always known sharks are a misunderstood creature, but then you start thinking about the importance of maybe talking about these aspects of things as you're doing the show. Yeah. The aspects of like, I always felt it was important to have clean beaches, but you start to think about it a little bit differently as you're going out there. And not only are you meeting a lot of people that are passionate about taking care of their environment, but then you're also going in with these creatures and you're getting to see them in their natural environment, and you're getting to do all these things that you wouldn't normally do. Some people do, but not me. And so
you were able to participate in a beach cleanup, right? As part
I did.
Yeah,
I joined. Well, technically, I filmed them. You know, the Mendocino Mermaids. We filmed them actually doing it, and we also filmed at the California Mermaid Convention.
Yes, we always do river and beach cleanups with the American River Parkway. And I think that, you know, people think about ocean beaches, which is great, and we should never stop that. But the deltas and sort of the rivers and the waterways that are also in need of a lot of love, like I'm excited that in Sacramento we get to sort of focus on those that are like homegrown and maybe stop some of that trash from making it all the way down to the beach.
Yes, that would be nice. Yes. As someone who lives in this world, I appreciate everything everybody does on that end.
I'm just glad that all of this sort of, you think of it as like frivolous and silly mermaid stuff, is actually able to do something concrete in the world. It's able to have this environmental aspect. It's opened up conversations about body positivity and inclusion and diversity. And it's also really healing, right? You talked about earlier how you almost drowned when you were younger, and this was a way for you to overcome that. And you see stories like that throughout the mermaid community. You hear about Annette Kellerman and how she wasn't able to walk when she was a young child, and swimming really helped her with that. Or Mermaid Rachel, who deals with chronic illness too. And those are just the two off the top of my head, but there are so many like that.
Hey, we have those two in the episode, right? So
yay! But even with Mermaid and Mom and Mermom Lori and learning, putting on a tail, and that came at a time in our lives when there was a lot of sadness and uncertainty too. So it seems like this connection to the water, this connection to your body and to the environment is really healing and really great in so many ways. So that's pretty cool.
Well, no, it's healing not only on like the physical aspect, but like you said, the mental aspect. It's great when you can get together with a group of people. That's one of the things that's become awesome with the internet in a way. I mean, there's some toxic stuff in there too, but you're able to get together with people you would have never had an easy time finding before, where you can come together as a bunch of like-minded people that enjoy the same thing. And you guys don't necessarily all think alike, but you all enjoy the same thing. You get these friends that you may have never had. And, friendship is a big deal. And being able to have those pods that you guys have and having that community, that can play a big role in a lot of people, even more so than the swimming.
Yeah, I completely agree. The friendships and the connections are kind of what it's all about, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why it keeps growing, is because you guys are awesome.
And we keep recommending mermaids for you to talk to. We can't.
I know.
We're like, oh, talk to this person.
Well, it sucks because I'd like to talk to even more people. And it's just, you reach a point where you're like, I'm just going to have to do a lot of online interviewing or something at some point to just keep it going, because there's so many cool stories out there. And I'm not going to be able to touch on them all, not even remotely close. And this thing's, it went from like an episode to a couple episodes special. Now it's more like a mini series that's more like a real, like, really it's like a season. It's going to be our most epic episode ever, and it's going to cover a lot of different things. But like I said, I'm still not going to touch on a whole lot of things.
Skim the surface, as it
were. Yeah, and it's going to probably be, it's going to probably be close to 4 hours worth of episodes, and we're still not going to hit everything.
Well, I think we're at time. We're a little bit past because we got excited. But thank you, Joe.
Well, thank you for having me.
For joining me. And you can hopefully catch the Mermaid series from Beyond Geek next year. Cross your fins. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.